So as we start the podcast, I'm going to do, because it is on the hour, I got to do my 10 body weight squats. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I read a study.
How long have you been doing this?
I read a study. Well, I just kind of started it today. Because over the weekend, I read this study. And we're all about making people healthy.
Was that 10?
Yeah. So we're all about making people healthy. I think it was. I kind of lost track. Maybe Logan rolled the tape. See if I did 10. So being sedentary and sitting a lot, is bad for you.
Yeah.
Well, some people say, well, I walk for 30 minutes a day. Okay. Well, here's what the study proved. That walking 30 minutes a day, you don't have to do that. What's better for you is you do 10 body weight squats every 45 minutes. And that's better for weight management and blood glucose levels.
And you started
today.
Live on the podcast. Thank you. And that's it for the Driving Relationships podcast this week.
I just thought it was an interesting study. Obviously, if you sit all day, there's days where I sit a lot, and we have Teams meetings.
The meetings.
So if I can every 45 minutes do like 10 body weight squats, boom.
The real question is, during those meetings, are you going to turn your camera off or leave your camera on?
I'll leave it on because then I'm going to tell everybody about it. And then I can, I can spread the news, spread the message as I'm doing here.
My glucose is going down.
It's just part of working out. It's part of being healthy.
Well, if they could see behind the camera of how many snacks you've had before this has started.
But seriously, what would you rather do? 10 body weight squats every 45 minutes?
10 body weight squats from
or
somebody.
walk for 30 minutes?
Nope, I'm out on that.
And it was like dramatically different. So, yes, I did have the afternoon almonds and beef sticks. So what are we going to talk about? It's been a while. We are so back, people.
We are so back.
We are so back.
Now, how do you do this podcast thing?
I think we just talk into the mics and just see what happens. And
we forgot. Logan's actually been sitting up here for the last 3 weeks waiting for us. So, Logan, thank you for keeping the studio warm. But we're so back. I think the hot topics right away. Breaking news, $21 billion investment coming back to the United States.
Yep.
That's definitely got to be on the topic. I'm currently on a hot streak of trying to find some type of training or a conference that actually has individuals in the weeds doing it versus just those who have done it 20 years ago that no longer are in the industry but wrote a book and now are going to share us how great the book is. And then I think the last thing is I think it's been a while where we need to get an update on the schedule.
Yeah.
So let's start with a $21 billion investment. Why did you and Hyundai decide to invest $21 billion in the United States?
Well, as I was sitting down there with the CEO, they kind of forced our hands a little bit with the Trump administration. But I do think it's interesting. I mean, this obviously leads into a tariff talk of what are the implications of it. And first, I think it's a little bit of posturing. But at the end of the day, hey.
There's some ground being made up.
We have definitely put ourselves in a tough spot as a country that a lot of the manufacturing has been shipped out and a lot of domestic brands and a lot of, whatever. So I love it that, Hyundai is making this investment coming alongside other car manufacturers that are making the same investment. And I think that, it's having the effect that the Trump administration wanted it to have, which is bringing jobs back to America.
Yeah. And I think you have to applaud Hyundai for this. Again, I don't have any ties to the Hyundai brand. But what I would say from the peanut gallery, the sidelines, is this is a brand that has kind of yo-yoed in where's it going to find its kind of foothold. And to spend $21 billion, I mean, that's got to be the largest investment that I've heard from a group, especially automotive, coming back in the United States, going from primarily outside United States manufacturing and saying $21 billion is going to happen inside. That's got to boost brand recognition within the United States, brand recognition within the automotive industry, and be something that they can kind of put a foothold in saying, look what we're doing that no one else is.
So the $21 billion, in your opinion, is clout. They're just paying for clout, basically.
Well, I think there's clout, but I think there's also that ownership of, hey, we're going to be the first to say we're doing it. And that's something to be said. I mean, with all of this going on, there's so many brands that are trying to figure out how to move one assembly line back to the United States, or how do I figure out how to get these parts to not cross the border 3 times, but only once. And $21 billion is saying, like, hey, we're the first one to the pony show. And you always get the best parking at the pony show if you're first.
I mean, that's true. I tend to view tariffs very favorably. However, how much does a 25% tariff, how much does a 25% tariff, assuming we pass it on to the consumer, what does that affect the monthly payment? Have you done the math?
No.
So what do you think the average price of a new car is that you're selling?
$50,000.
50. Whoa, really?
Yeah, 45, 50.
Dang, that's a lot. Okay,
Well,
so
I think it is because when you take in Sequoias, Siennas, Tundras that are
well, let's say
75?
it's 30
I think,
on average.
I think NADA would say the
35?
math is like 38 something.
I haven't bought a new car in a while.
Yeah. No, if you and your
Talk
wife,
to me after
if
the
you and
show.
your wife would like to come by the dealership later tonight,
So let's say it's 40,000.
yeah, you're safe.
And
for
let's
that.
say that goes up. Now it's a $50,000 car. You add a 25% tariff on, it's a $50,000 car. What's your payment difference?
on 10 grand,
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna be $125.
So this is where tariffs could potentially be damaging.
Yeah.
Right? Because somebody is going to give up profit, and we know it's not going to be the manufacturer. We know it's not going to be the distribution people. So they're going to have to find a way, in order to keep cars affordable, they're going to have to find a way to manufacture it in the United States. And this is where tariffs, generally I am for them. They're forcing the hand of people to manufacture in the United States. Now, generally I'm for them. However, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that there could be some issues like this. You can't raise payments $100 to $125 bucks. We've already came out of that.
And then pause that with the preface of a normal payment right now is like $750 a month. So now you're talking about a car payment getting 1,000. But again, I don't know where it stops, right? That's the conversation we've had internally with a lot of our staff is, and you know, we always say the statement that a good economy always makes bad dealers and a bad economy makes great dealers. And what we mean by it is when the times are easy, we get very lax and lazy and we make mistakes. That's the same in service, sales. It's in any industry, not just automotive. But with payments now reaching $750 a month, there's an issue about our staff coming out of a deal that, hey, this payment was $350 on the exact same car when I leased it 3 years ago, and now it's $700. Like, there's got to be a sympathy and empathy level that comes in there because there is some shock in there. I could only imagine what's the next step when you say $1,000 a month is going to be a car payment, and it is. It's astronomical because I remember when I first started a Tundra, you could sell at $38,000. And that's an SR5 with no extra frills and features, and it was $38,000, and the nicest ones got into like $45,000, $50,000.
And the U.S. bank lease was in the 300s, maybe 200s when it
Your
first
money
came out.
factor was 0.000000001.
They had the residuals so wrong, and we all knew it. It was like 98% residual.
So you can lease this Tundra for $17 a month for
and have 10 grand in equity at the end of
now one kicker, it's
months.
10,000 miles a year, but still, yeah, it was insane. But like, that's the part where this is all going to have to come back to a grasp on. That is like, prices have gone up, distribution's gone up, shipping's gone up, employee wages have gone up, insurance has gone up. So where does this thing topple over? Because it does feel like $125 is going to be that. And then that leads into the next question is like, are normal consumers still acquiring a sub $25,000 asset? So when it comes to used cars in operation, so like a $25,000 car historically has always been a sub $400 payment. Now we're talking it's a $500 payment.
Here's where I'll make this statement. I love my job, but if there's any car manufacturers out there that want a new CEO or a junior CEO, I'll even take that title.
Junior CEO.
I think that they've gotten so disconnected from the customer experience that they're not manufacturing products for the customer. We know that customers are strapped. We know that the used car supply is bad.
Yeah.
Why can't you figure out a way to make a car that maybe doesn't have all the bells and whistles? I love the safety features. Keep those on there. But how do you manufacture a car in the United States cheaper to be able to sell it at a price that more people can afford? That would be my mission. That's what I'll bring to your company if you hire me as a junior CEO or just a flat-out CEO.
Starting salary of?
I mean, honestly, pretty cheap compared to what some of these guys are getting. I will turn your brand around.
Just stock options.
CDJR, please. I will turn your brand around. Give me 60 days. I've never done it before. It's not going to be hard to do. I'll do it.
Ooh, shots fired. With that being said, if you do hire him, I come as the assistant to the regional manager.
And I must still hold dealer plate guy.
LLC comes with you too.
And I still get to do TikToks just in the factory.
Yeah, but I think it's a great point. Like, one of the things that I think you kind of hit the nail on, and I may drive it home, is like, because everything's grown so dynamically and there's so many political sides that have now taken, I believe CEOs as a whole in automotive are starting to lose touch with the customer. And that's one thing that I guarantee you, from what I've even experienced from as a general manager that has no ties to daily vision as business. You know, I see the vision of the four walls here. And whichever way I want to push that direction is what obviously our company allows us, blessed and grateful. But when you're operating 60, when you're operating 100, when you're operating all these different rooftops, and then you have brands and manufacturers and dealerships, and you're the CEO of whatever manufacturing North America, you definitely have lost touch with the customer. Because the moment when we say, hey, we're raising prices 2% because, inflation and market, that 2% is something that we have to communicate. And just by saying, well, everyone else is doing it, somebody's going to bust through. And I hate saying it. My feeling is it's going to be one of these foreign companies, the Chinese electrified vehicles that are come through and say, hey, this is our $40,000 fully loaded, top of the line trim. And they're going to pick up a market share of 5% margin on that vehicle. And they're going to sell a ton of them. And when we come up for air and realize what's going on,
and I think people see that coming. I think the Trump administration sees that coming. And that is the part, yes, we want to bring it back to the United States, but we also need to compete with China because they already have these vehicles.
Yeah,
and they're already producing them
recently too.
And, they are these $25,000 cars that have way more tech than anything that we have right now on the market. Now, let's take it back a couple years to when we had one of my favorite new cars that I ever sold. And probably know what it is, and it's in the price range. The Yaris IA.
$17,985.
It was like a 15.5 invoice car, and it had all the tech you could want on it, and people were absolutely over the moon. You could get them approved on a new car that they had never been approved on before. They had new car warranties. They had their first 2 years of maintenance paid for. This doesn't exist anymore.
No, I agree.
But this was, 4 or 5 years ago that we had this?
To a T. Anyone with bad credit, you were in finance, anyone with
New
bad
car,
credit,
first-time car buyers.
anybody who never bought a car, it was go to Austin's office, ask him if they had $1,000 cash down. There was a $1,000 incentive on it.
Yeah.
And Austin would walk out and say, congratulations, I got you approved on a new car. They'd say, I wanted the used truck. And he's like, but you're leaving in the new car. And here's your payment of $385. And it was...
No, but think about it. Like, what would you rather buy? Would you rather buy a $17,000 used car, or would you rather buy a $17,000 new car? Probably the new car. And you would give up a couple of the features, to have it. So I think, again, my pitch to be a CEO of a major auto manufacturer, not that I've ever wanted to, but
as of today,
I just feel like I could do it. And I don't think it's that hard.
So with that being said, you've now told us you want to be a CEO. Where are you going to learn these things? Because I've been on social media and I've been talking about it. I'm trying to find great training. I'm trying to find things I can go to, things where I can educate my people, level them up. And then me as a leader, again, I'm kind of at that pinnacle where I feel like I've done it for so long. And some people are going to take this and be like, oh, he's complaining. He's so young. It should be. I've done it for 11 years. And I feel like I've now hit that pinnacle where I know what the expectation is going to be next. I know what the problems are. I know how to solve them. It feels like I'm almost repeating them and not learning. So I really want to grow and see that. So as CEO, what are you going to do different, and where are you going to create these learning environments?
Yeah, I think that you got to be around like-minded individuals. This is something that has really been on my heart lately, and since I started the dealer plate guy thing. And I had this dumb motto in the beginning that I just was making fun of an industry I'm trying to change.
Yeah.
And as I've gained more followers, as it's gotten more successful, I've really started to hold myself accountable to what are you doing? What are you doing to change the car business? And I've really had a couple sleepless nights, if I'm being honest, this year about this is really hitting me hard about how am I being different? How am I treating people different? How am I training other people to treat people different in the car business? And so to your point, we're going to a conference of like-minded individuals. It's called the ASOTU Con.
New one. Make it here official.
And we're going to go there. And so I think that's one of the things too. I'm hoping to make some really good connections there at the conference and people that can come alongside me in my mission of, making fun of an industry that we're trying to change, and we're actually trying to change it. I think one of the cool ways of, some of the different content I do, that's you just make fun of stuff that happens. And when you put it out there and you see it in video, you're like, oh crap. It's the same thing. You do any sort of training. You put the good stuff out there, and sometimes it just goes right over someone's head. But if you put a bad example out there, and then someone's like, oh, I did that yesterday, or I do that all the time, it's like, whoa, I can't do that. Because when I see it happening,
when I saw it, when I felt it,
way different than, training you. Okay, this is exactly how you should check a customer out. Let me show you a terrible way to check a customer out that you probably do. You're going to learn a lot more from that. You learn a lot more from your mistakes. So
for sure.
To answer your question, I am, if I was going to be the CEO of a manufacturer, which is still an offer on the table, pretty cheap, good comp package, I would get an organization like a SO2 that you really can't wait to plug in with them and see what the conference is about.
Yeah, and disclaimer, we've never gone to it. So that's what we want to make very clear is the decision where it kind of got kicked back and forth about it was exactly what you just kind of hit the nail on the head was We want to be a part of groups where we feel like there's something going on here that's different, and it may be undefiable or undeniable to sit there and say, like, how do you actually define this? How do you tell me it's different? And like, it's really so far been a feeling. Like, there's a change going on here. There's definitely mission direction that's going on. And honestly, there's some of me that wants to go there and investigate and be like, is this actually what's going on behind the scenes? Is this all marketing? Because again, I made some content the other day showing it, like, everything I'm scrolling on right now is like this event. So it's picking up momentum. If you haven't seen it, you have to go look at it, because it's definitely talking about it's a conference event made for dealers, by dealers, through the industry, about the industry, and it's going to be based on changing the industry. And what I tell you is, every time I've been to great big conferences, the two things that I feel like I always want to leave and never go back is vendor pitches. Hey, we're the ones sponsoring lunch, so all during lunch, not only are you going to eat our food, we're going to tell you why you need to buy our product. That's fine. I don't mind you being there and doing it. It's the part of going, you're going to miss me because you're not here actually building any value. You're just telling me what you should be doing. And then the second one is having individuals that aren't part of the industry that are talking about it.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're just trying to capitalize on this moment. And what I hope this conference is, and what we're going to go find out, is who's actually involved with it, how are they changing the industry, what are they doing, and how can we have conversations about it? Because to your point, as a leader in the industry, one of the things that eats me up the most at night are the nights where I can't get to enjoy my night because of the industry that I'm in. And whether that's sleepless nights, whether that's I can't even have conversations with my family because I'm so burnt out on what happened during the day. Like, those are burdens we take as leaders, and those are burdens that, you know, anyone who's in any industry is going to sit here and say, I've gone through that, I understand that. And I think it happens from the sales positions to service advisors to technician to GM to GSM to finance manager to even social media guy Logan sometimes. And I think it's, how do we identify that and how do we cope with it? So I think there's a lot of that could come from a conference like this as well.
And we've done, you know, the NADA show quite a bit.
Love it.
And yeah, it's good. It's a good show.
Different purpose, though, completely.
Yeah, and that's where I'm excited. You know, so too, they're very big on LinkedIn. It seems like that's where the biggest presence is. And it's almost, it feels like this grassroots movement. You know, I met them for the first time at NADA, I think it was a couple years ago. Maybe it wasn't last year.
Okay.
A couple years ago, and you know, just seemed like some great guys. I was like, hey, I just kind of seen some of their content and just want to say hi to them. And they had a bunch of people show up in these like black flat brim hats and shirts, and it was just kind of interesting, like traveling with an entourage.
Yeah.
And then there's this kind of aura around like, what kind of a company are they? What are they really doing? You know, how is this a viable thing? And you know, then you kind of learn that the founders have their own business ventures, and they're just really doing this as almost like a mission to change the auto industry. And I am super intrigued by it. But, you know, I think getting entrenched in the community in person, because it's one thing to like see the LinkedIn posts and all that. Like, I want to meet the kind of people that are going to go to this. And I want to meet the kind of people, you know, these are the connections that I feel like I really want to make that, you know, are going to help us be better as leaders.
Yeah. And I think anyone who hasn't heard about it, just in the short research we've done on it, it looks like such a viable investment to your own career. To look at it and go, this is something that I can invest in, I can spend money on, and that I can also get a return on investment with my time outside of the industry. So definitely something to check out. Again, it's SOTUCon, ASOTU. Did I do that right? Con.
Yeah, it
C-O-N.
did not sound like you did it right, but you did.
So hard to say, but we got it. So check it out online and then go from there. If you want to see us, we're going to be there. We'll have some type of content we're doing, because that's our focus, is we're back doing our squats to begin the sessions and going from there. So
if this podcast lasts 45 minutes, I have to do 10 more. So
that's true. Last thing that I got for you, because I need to know about it. How's the schedule going?
Schedule's going pretty well.
Are we on schedule?
No, we are. Yeah. So I've been playing around with it.
Okay.
Now I'll admit there's some weeks that I don't do well, but part of the experiment was, okay, I am bad at like letting myself off the hook sometimes. So if there's a week where I didn't really do it very well, or I only looked at it on Sunday afternoon when I made it, and then I never looked at it again, I have time in my schedule that, you know, every Sunday is a reflection time. I reflect back on the week. What did I do well? What did I not do well? What are my new goals for this week? And, you know, I don't know, it's been good. I am not as obsessive as I was in the beginning with it. I've loosened up just a little bit, but I also do still see the importance of it, and I still do it every week. I send the email to everybody. It's like, hey, here's when I'll kind of be in the store.
Yeah.
I don't put my whole schedule on there, what I'm going to be doing, all the meetings I'm going to be having, all that stuff. But no, I think it helps, and I'm still a huge believer in it. I am looking for. It would be nice to have a couple support people that are going along with me. I think the first month it was very easy to sustain. I was like on fire. February, first couple weeks were good. I went on vacation. I came back.
Hard to get back in the
and
routine.
I'm still like, my morning routine is still there. I'm still doing it. But then there's just more life things that start happening. Kids get sick. My wife's pregnant. And there's just a lot of different things where I think if I had somebody that was doing it with me or was like-minded, kind of like what we talked about, that it might make it a little bit easier. But all that to say, I'm still doing well, and I'm still a big believer.
Well, for all the listeners, because I'm not going to commit to it because that's not something where I'm ready for, it's dealerplateguy@gmail.com. You can send him an email and get right to him to commit to be his support buddy. The second part of it that I would say is what encouragement for you, what I've seen that I've loved, is that once a week email that I know where you're at. And as a director, we've talked about this on the podcast, you have 5 different dealerships in a body shop, right? So 6 locations, correct? It's got to be frustrating to be jumping from place to place to place and people not being prepared for your arrival.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I have 3 hours with you, and I get there and I go, where you at? Oh, I went to lunch. How did you go to lunch when I told you I was going to be here at noon? Well, you told me last week, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
So then you spend 30, 40 minutes just hanging out versus being productive. I've really appreciated the Monday morning, usually it's Sunday night. Here's where I'm at, here's where I'm going to be, and then the follow through of here's where I'm at and here's why I'm here. So, Peanut Gallery again.
No, it's been good. I do think I need, I need to be more productive when I'm in the store. I feel like I need to have a more set schedule of what I go over.
Gotcha.
I've found that out. But again, I think it's all because I'm putting myself in that position to figure it out. And it's not just a fly by the, whim.
Yeah.
But each week is different. I would love to do Tuesdays I'm at Toyota, Wednesdays I'm here. But, Honda, it was the first day of construction to where they're actually writing service out of the other building now today. And so
it's tough.
I did a little bit with some marketing stuff this morning. I didn't record the radio ads, but I got all the scripts and everything, and we did the tire sale. We got the tire sale going on. I'm having to test the websites. I'm having to get, the offers weren't right and do all this stuff. And then went over to Honda to get a good game plan together about how are we going to manage the construction.
Yeah.
How are we going to manage the traffic flow? And so there's things like that change every week, but it is nice to kind of go through your week and just think, the power of like checking off the box of, this is what I need to accomplish and being really intentional about it. So now reflecting on it, some of my family time hasn't been as intentional or good as it has needed to be. And today I woke up 30 minutes earlier than normal just to kind of switch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
To keep myself on my toes. But yeah, you should do it.
Well, one thing that I would advise you with family time that I think would be really important is if you went home tonight and talked to your family about every 45 minutes doing body weight squats.
I already talked to my wife about it. I sent it to her.
She's pregnant.
Well, I'm not. I wasn't. That's her.
How
Was her
dare
reaction?
you?
That was her reaction too. I was like, no, it was just a cool study that I was. It was just.
Honey, you appear to be gaining weight. It's time to do some body weight squats.
I did. I dug myself a hole with it. But no, we were having a conversation about people who they walk for 30 minutes and they say they're healthy. And I was like, oh, I was actually reading a study about that. Because she was like, I need to go for walks. I'm like, why?
Unbelievable. You tied that into the program.
It was me reporting data.
Well, so that's what you get as a CEO. This is your next candidate. For more content like this, follow Dealer Plate Guy
and Driving Relationships Podcast and wherever else you want to follow.
See us on Spotify. This is going on Spotify, YouTube. Comment, share. Please help us out. We're going to continue to commit to these. See you at a SoTuCon.